Welcome back to Open Studio. Okay, I've done my homework. I'm good. So these bars here that I wasn't sure about back here, these are the frame inside of the sidecar. So the sidecar, the reason why it was confusing to me because I needed to see the picture of the sidecar. The old J-type Harley sidecars had come up to about here, and then it dips down, and then it runs across with the frame inside. And then from here, just beyond this, there's, and I don't know about this bike because you can't really see it. I think you just barely make it out. But then there's like the padding interior type of material that kind of goes out on each side, and then the back with the seat and everything. So that is part of this bike here. That was good that I kind of buttoned that up. The other thing too is this area right here. Yeah, this I thought was background, but it's not. I gotta smooth this out so that this line continues out, because what it does is it goes out to here and then it dips down and then cuts across. So I missed a little bit here too, which I can fix. It's not a big deal, but now I know. I did all the whatever looking up and fun stuff. So anyway, and those bars are kind of a steelish blue color, so I don't have to deal with them right now. So I have the same color, same mix that we kind of let off. All right, I'll slow down. I have the same color that I ended up with last time, same mix. I just picking up where I left off. What's nice about this little the tank here, the section here, it's very nitpicky in a way, but it's also kind of mindless. So I'm just kind of rolling in that texture. The payoff for this is, real estate wise on this painting, this is a pretty big part of it. So even though it's kind of monotonous and it seems like it's just taking forever, when this is done, it's gonna be a big part of the painting, meaning a big part of the painting is now done, which is great. And actually I noticed that after the last episode when I was kind of running around and it was sitting on the bench and I looked at it from a little ways back, I'm like, wow, that's gonna really take a lot of it out, which is great. All right. The only thing I would have done differently, and I've been doing this recently on other paintings. So we did that neat fade, the black fade from the the background and everything. What I've been doing on a lot of the paintings now, because you notice, and I know I've talked about this before too, this painting has been handled a lot. It's got we're into 20 something hours into it. The corners, no matter how hard I try, just from picking it up and moving it around, the corners get worn. The paint comes right off it. That whole edge is not there anymore. What I started doing with other paintings, which has really, really, really been working out well. So I'll do the gray background, right? But then I won't put the fade on it. I'll just leave the gray background. Now, as I'm kind of working on this, at the end of it, all I needed to do on the other paintings now, or this painting would have been the same way, is I would just spray the gray background on the edge again, and then I'll do the fade as the very last thing, and then it's pristine and it's perfect. So it was a kind of a neat thing to kind of come up with. Do we even need we don't even need the palette cam on, really. Okay, well, we'll leave it on just in case. Yeah, so that was a neat kind of realization for doing these. So because what happens is the fade is the hard part to fix on that. It's not the background that's hard. You can just kind of float it in there, but it's when it has a fade, now you have to match the fade if you're just doing a repair in the corner. Or if you can't match it, then what you got to do is you got to make it darker, and that's not really, you may not have intended to have the background that dark, but it has to be now because you got to get the fade in there evenly. So it's really been a cool thing. With the Harley logo, I'm just kind of avoiding the inside of this, the letters, but I'm not trying to paint them perfectly. What's going to happen is there's that yellowish paint that's over here. That's also on the logo. So that paint, that yellowish paint, is what's going to define any hard edges that are on this. So I don't really have to go crazy. What I do need to make sure I do is paint enough of it so that so that like I don't want to leave like a halo, like I don't want to avoid it, because if I don't get paint all the way up to the edge when I put the yellow on, there'll be that weird halo around it where I avoided it. So I want to make sure, if anything, I go over the edge so that when I put the other color on it, the more opaque yellowish color, that you know, I have brown paint right up to it. So, and again, ultimately, it gets really dark. I'm trying to find a spot that's similar, probably like the handlebars, like that dark. Not quite as dark as the sidecar under here, but parts of the horn, you know, it gets that dark. So there's a lot that goes on it, but again, the difference between this painting and like the 543s, where I have that real strict time limit, they have to get done very, very quickly. But even a, you know, painting where someone has a budget, for instance, and I know that there's a time limit that I need to hit so that I don't, it has to be a win for everyone, right? I mean, if someone has a budget, if a company has a budget and this is what they can spend on it, I have to make it a win for everyone. So I have to make it a painting that is good quality, but also falls within that time frame. Now, with that being said, things get left out. This gets left out, you know, that I'm like nitpicking this texture and really just kind of building it up very slowly. This is the kind of thing that would get, the first thing that would be taken out of a painting that needed to be done very quickly. And on the other side of that, again, that's what makes this painting what it is. It's that depth of the textures and the paint, and it's, again, it's something you can see very clearly when you look at the painting live, but still pick up on a photograph. But that is the difference. And ultimately, you know, it's, I was talking to Charlie Hutton last year when I was at the show, and Charlie is an amazing, I mean, he is as much of an artist as anyone. He restores really, really, really expensive, rare cars that need an amazing amount of attention to detail. And Charlie is so tuned into that. And when we were talking, he said something really, really great about his career. He is at the point now where the jobs he takes are people that just let him go. They don't want it halfway. They're not on a budget. They want it perfect. They want it Charlie Hutton level. And to have a list of collectors and clients that are at that level is the dream for any artist. And it's not just about the money. It's about being able to be challenged to do the absolute best you can do, and then have someone able to compensate you for that. That's really what it boils down to. So I don't know where that rant came from, but it was a good one, because it's true. It's, you know, it's like we work so hard to do things that are really at the top of our level, you know, top of our ability level. And it's just nice to have a client and or a collector or customer that appreciates that and says, yeah, do it, go, just tell me what it is at the end. And again, that's what I was talking about, as being a win for everyone. For me, that's a huge win for everyone. If you get the best I can do, and then you're willing to or able to take care of what that value is for that piece, then that is huge. I mean, there are wins across the board too. Like I said, if someone needs a painting, or, you know, at the 543s, they're 2 hours worth of painting, I feel that it's a win because of what they ultimately sell for, because they are quick paintings for me. And I think it's a win for someone who gets it. It's almost like getting a paint sketch in a way. But yeah, I'm all about win-win for sure, 100%. Everyone needs to win. No one benefits if someone loses, for sure. Especially in this field, just because, I mean, as an artist, we rely on repeat collectors. We rely on people who really have grown to like what we do and want more of it. And that's a big, huge part of it. So cutting corners and doing a crappy job doesn't get you those repeats, you know. In any, I mean, I say that like that's exclusive for art, but it's true across the board, no matter what type of business you're running. Yeah, that second Harley just kind of fades across, but it's very faint, and it's almost like it was painted over it. So I'm gonna ignore it for now, and I'll just deal with it when I finish it, because I'll put that almost on last, because it does. It's definitely, this is the original one here. The other one, it's at a weird angle too. I don't understand it, but again, it's not my place to say, you know, I'm going to leave that out, because for me, that's this guy's bike. It's something happened, and he put the decal on, or had someone paint it diagonally across here, and he wanted it there, or someone wanted it there. So that's what I'm going to do. I have to keep looking at the clock because it's so easy to go over, and I know it's only been about 10 minutes, but still, there are a few episodes where I'm like, oh, look at that, we've gone 5 minutes over, and I wasn't even looking. So I got to make sure that I keep them at the optimal bite size half an hour mark. Yeah, it's, again, it seems like it's a tractor pull. It seems like it's going really slow, but it is actually not going really slow, which is really, really nice. I actually thought it would take kind of 3 episodes to really block this in before I could start shifting it around and putting in the darker details, but this is really, really coming together fast. And I get it. Fast is relative. It's like, dear God. I don't want to go too much brown on that, because that's clearly yellow. And actually, there's even a little bit of, it looks almost like, I bet this bike was gray. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. This was that gray Harley color. My my back and forth was this a military bike, and I don't know enough about the way they changed them to know whether it was or not. But I do know that the military bikes were obviously green. This is clearly gray now, because the gray paint is actually still on the box up here. It's just completely worn off. That's so neat. Except for the very center of this. So it's almost like the paint had got some yellow oxidation to it. Oh, it's neat. I'm going to put brown on this. It's almost black, but the heck. Just going to warm it up. And this does not go like that. That goes like that. Yeah, I'm feeling really good about this. This is good. I also love that the motor has some shiny bits to it, which is great, because again, it's that repetition and variation that's such a hallmark of good design, or design that humans really gravitate to. I should say that, because definition of good design can be different. But yeah, repetition and variation works really well. So I've got all this rust, I've got all this brown, but then every once in a while there's a little brass piece or a little stainless steel piece that's super shiny, or a piece that's been handled a lot, so it's really worn. It just makes for a great painting. It just really, really works well. All right, back to the frame. Again, I want to kind of keep everything, push everything the same speed here. So when I move on to the next step, I can do it everywhere. The next step is just, I think what the next step is, which will probably be the next episode, is to adjust any of those colors that need to be adjusted, like when I was talking about the red oxide in this rusty part up here. I want to do all that next, because those get kind of buried by the details, and that's what I want. Don't want to be making that adjustment after. What is this? Oh, I keep doing that. I know what that is. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to paint over this whole thing. I can adjust it after. Again, it starts to get into that grayish, bluish kind of color, but it's pretty dark, so I'll be able to really bump it around a lot. Yeah, why not? Oh, all that. Oh, yeah, well, it's really dark. This area right here is, you can see the sidecar through all this. And I was like, why did I not see that? But that's okay, because it's as dark as this, the sidecar here. So that's going to be, I can just, you know, kind of work on that when I work on the motor. But isn't it neat as I'm kind of building this up how, you know, warm that umber color gets? It's almost orangey. Which again, burnt umber in the bottle looks really orange as well. You know, it's got that really, and that's more what you start fading towards here. It's just when it's really thin, it has this really cool, and that is partially the gray of the HD stencil coming through, but it still has that you know, more coolish color as it starts. I love complex colors like that. And again, that's what we were talking about in the last episode about the reduction, you know, and knowing a certain color and what it does. That also, by far, I mean, almost more importantly, you learn what the color does as you kind of use it. How it looks when it's really transparent, how it looks when it's really opaque, what it does to other colors. It's super important to know these things, and as you kind of become familiar with one color, you really get a good feel for that color, and you know what's going to happen when you mix it with stuff. And it makes first of all, it makes your ability to find a color or mix a color very, very quick. You're not just kind of like flopping around trying to figure out what colors are going to do it for me. You have a good idea what each color is going to do. Because, I mean, don't forget, the color wheel is continuous. It's not, even though you have one color, one spot on that color wheel in your palette, it's still part of a continuum. So you can push it around, all the way around. I mean, depending on how much of the other colors you mix, you can do whatever you want with it. So knowing that color and know how it reacts is just invaluable. So again, if you're having trouble, just limit your palette. Pick the primaries and throw in the secondaries. Use your white and black, and from there on out, just mix everything. Get used to those colors, and then say, you know what, I like all right, so I have bismuth yellow here. You know, it's a great yellow. This is the yellow I chose for my primary yellow to do what Steve was talking about. You use this color a lot, but then as you're using this color, and this is what happened to me with these primary yellows, is I noticed that, let me show you this one. This is Hansa yellow, but it does the same thing. On top of black, see how green that is? So this yellow shifts to green when it's on top of other colors, and you know that as you use it. So this is what happened with me. I'm like, oh, I'm really fighting that green a lot. I find like I'm always trying to cancel that green with these super bright primary yellows. So that is how I ended up with yellow oxide or yellow ochre. Yellow ochre has much more kind of a warmth to it. It's still cool though. It's weird. It's a complex pigment. So it for me, like I said, this became my, you can see it there. It just became my yellow. It's a yellow that I use all the time. And it works great. Now, again, if I need like, you know, caution sign yellow, I'll grab bismuth or Hansa or something like that. Or there's no reason not to grab other colors, but if you have some colors or a standard set of colors, a palette that you use a lot, it makes it much easier to pull in like those specialty colors essentially. So, all right. And that's good. I think that's good. Am I good? Am I? Yeah, I am. We're going to see this episode. Lovely. All right, I'm going to clean this out of the brush, and we're going to grab, again, my go-to orange. It's the same deal. Orange, this is Wicked Pyrrole Orange, great orange. This is caution sign orange. It's as secondary as you can get, really. But for me, it's a little bit too much. I end up fighting the brilliance of it. I end up fighting the undertones in it, the yellowish undertone. So for me, the go-to orange, and I say this a million times over, is red oxide. Again, you'd never think this was orange until, well, you'll see when I spray it. So this, as I'm preparing this color, it's going to be the same exact deal as the umber. Red oxide is not a great spraying color. Let me shake this up a little bit first. Red oxide is a real gummy color. It doesn't want to spray with a great amount of detail. I'm not asking it to do it in this portion. All I'm doing is basically rusting out areas, making them more orange. But you can use it for detail, just like I use the umber, but you got to add the 40-50 to it if you're airbrushing. So you can see how it doesn't even, the drop doesn't even come out. Put on the side, I guess. And 1 to 10. Okay. So let's see, it's 1 drop of paint. And again, I don't know. I'm going to put 6 drops of reducer in here, 7 or something. I know it takes more than less. So now I got to kind of scoop this off the side. And I am going to stop doing this over the painting just because I seriously don't want this to drip on there. So you'll have to trust me that I'm mixing it up. All right. The other thing too with this, I don't know if I can show you. Again, this is it's the way the paint works, and I've already mixed it up a bunch. But this takes, you have to really mix this up well, and you have to mix any paint up well. But this, you really have to be conscientious of it, because it tends to be gummy, and it tends to want to leave little globules in it if you don't mix it all the way up. And if you do that, it's a nightmare, because you'll be spraying really nicely, then that little unmixed glob will get through the brush, clog up your brush for a second, you'll pull the trigger back far, and then you'll have this massive orange blowout on the side of your painting. So mix it up really, really well. And I don't pre-mix this. The only time I pre-mix red oxide is for the shifter color. This is extremely thin. And this is what I would use to just kind of lightly tint a color to kind of get rid of blue shift. But normally I won't pre-mix this color because it does separate out really, really quickly. What do we got? Oh, we got plenty of time. Let me make sure we're on the mark. Okay, so what I want to do now, again, this is more general spraying, but still pretty tight. This dent right here has got some great rust on it. There's a lot of great rust right on the side here, and that's kind of what I'm kind of focused on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put really light layers on this and build up that orange color. And hopefully you can see that kind of how immediately brilliant that orange is. And that's just such a nice orange. It almost has that yellowy cast to it. Where if I use the Pyrrole orange, that would give like a caution type orange. Really like strong, crazy orange, which is not what I want here. Now I can go a little bit brighter than, like this is starting to look like bright, but I can do that because what I'm doing is after, you'll see when I put all these dark like this dark color here that's on the sidecar. When I get all that in, it'll cover most of that up anyway. So it's okay to be a little bit generous with this rusty color here, since a lot of it's going to be buried. I don't want to touch the logo. The logo is more yellow, but there is still some rust down in here, so get that going too. And the box has rust down the bottom and the top, but not in the middle, so we'll get that too. Okay, now the frame, a little bit more on the frame, but just in certain areas like here. Again, I think this is just a wear and tear thing. Yeah, it looks like water had kind of been on this frame at some point, and it just kind of rusted a little bit more than normal. I still regret every day that I didn't walk up to this guy and introduce myself and talk to him. I took so many pictures of his bike. He wasn't there, and then I never went back. But I really, really wish I got his info. I could, with this bike, again, I think I said it before, someone's going to know who owns this bike. I mean, this is not, first of all, it's a rare bike. You know, that late teens, early 20s J-type Harley. So they're just, they're not a whole bunch of them around. So, and then, you know, someone at the World of Wheels would have had to know who the guy was. Unfortunately, I haven't heard that the World of Wheels in Boston is a thing anymore. They obviously shut it down with everything for COVID, and then I don't think it ever started up again after, which is unfortunate. It was a good show. It just kind of, I think it ended up being the same cars and same people every year, which is unfortunate. And I think a lot of that was the expense of where it was. It was right in the Back Bay of Boston, or not Back Bay, sorry, the waterfront in Boston, which is the top of, or the South Boston-ish, which in the beginning was where the big convention center was, and it wasn't a particularly fantastic part of town. But recently, they've been kind of redoing all of it, and it's a very expensive part of town now. So as a result, I mean, I think the convention centers felt the pinch. Plus, there was a brand new convention center that was put in, a big one. So I think that kind of sealed the deal. No one was going to pay to be in there. All right, where am I at? Since I have the orange here, and this tube looks like it's copper or brass. Oh, stop it. Yeah, it looks copper. I'm just going to base it in now. Again, I don't have to be real careful with this. I don't have to get the orange just on that piece, because there's so many other darker areas around it that it'll eventually, you know, all that overspray from where I'm not really being very careful will just kind of be gone. So these paintings also kind of, I was going to mention it later on as we get closer to the end of this, because I know it's going to happen. But these paintings for me also kind of have a avalanche type of feel to them. What I mean by that is, like, I'll be working on them, especially early on, and I'll be like just trudging. On the back you guys up a little bit so you kind of get a feel for the whole thing. Yeah, I'm kind of trudging through the whole thing, and it seems like it's going to take forever, and it is, you know, it takes a long time or whatever. But then it's funny, right as it gets close to the end, it's like an avalanche. Like, it seems like it's still a long way off. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting back and I'm like, wait a minute, this is done. Oh, like, how did that happen? So I'm expecting this painting to have that same thing happen at some point. I just don't know. I never know when it is. All right, I'm good with that. So you get the feel, all that orangey, yellowy goodness. All right, I'm going to clear this out and take the last minute here to figure out the battle plan for the next episode. So I think we're at the point now where we can start putting in the darker details and start to really kind of solidify the rust, and that'll allow me to, with that same color, I'll be able to really kind of finish up, or not finish up, but get the frame really close, because a lot of this is really super dark. So I think that's going to be the next step. And then I can also resolve some of the sidecar issues in the back, which are going to be good too. The details on top come at the end, the shiny bits and stuff. So we'll deal with that. But I think that's going to be the way it's going to go. I'm going to do that, then, and then, man, we're going to be on the motor before long. All right. So once again, thank you so much for jumping in this episode. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing. If you know someone else who would get a kick out of it, please share it with them. That would be great too. And anyone, again, what's going to happen in this next quick stretch is that I'm filming all these episodes, the next 4 or 5 of them. I'm going to film them all in a row. So if you gave me a super chat, I'm going to have to thank you when we come back. If you click that thanks button, you can actually support the channel that way, which is tremendous, and I really love it and I appreciate it. And I'm trying to thank people as they do that. But like I said, I'm going to be recording the next 5 episodes roughly all in a row. So if you make thanks on those, I won't be able to thank you until we get back with the next episode. So anyway, too long-winded, but that's me. All right. Have a great week. I will catch you guys all in the next one. I'm Steve Leahy. This is Open Studio, and thank you so much.